All right. It's that time. It's time for Beyond Sight and Sound. Let's do this.
Are you looking for a high-quality beach and sand scoop? Are you trying to take your hunting to the extreme? How about an American-based company that stands behind their product and everything they sell? Then check out our friends over at XTREME Scoops. John has been making scoops for some time now and makes a quality beach and sand scoop to take your hunting to the next level. XTREME Scoops recently released their new sand shredder that works great in the water and on the beach. And if you're a new Equinox user, you may want to check out his Surfmaster X3 that can trap those small targets you new Equinox users are finding out there. XTREME Scoops' company approach is let's do it right. So do it right, buy it once, and go to the extreme. XTREMEScoops.com. That's XTREME Scoops.com. Caution. Please do not operate motor vehicles or power equipment while under the influence of this show. Listening to this show could cause side effects such as bouts of laughter, violent binges of cabin fever, and even dreams of silver and gold. Please be advised. Now that the fine print is out of the way, on with the show. All right, the fine print's out of the way, and it's time to roll with the show. We're back, and we're live once again. You are listening to Beyond Sight and Sound, metal detecting and treasure hunting radio for all the really cool digging people out there. And let me tell you what, with that polar vortex, we're all pretty cool tonight. Much cooler than I'd like to be, I can guarantee that. Oh, this wind chill is just killing us here. And I'm sure that's the same likewise for everyone in the other parts of the country that are tuning in. Speaking of which, I see Barb's in, Ken, Chuck, Riley, Bryant. Welcome to Riley. TJ, Dennis, Jason, Bob, good grief, you guys are all wired up already. The Bills are in. Chris was first through the chat tonight. Very nice. He's all set up and ready for the show. I did see that he was preparing. He had his nutty bars all lined up and ready to go for the show. Mark's in, TJ, and the list just goes on. Nelson, man, everybody's wired up tonight. Very good to see. California in the house. Jim's in. Good grief. Wow. Suki's in. So, looks like everything's rolling well. Hopefully the audio's good. Apologies for Sunday with the little bit of chatter there in the phone lines. You know, I had to get the knife out after the show and cut the string on Denny's can phone. But we should be doing good tonight, definitely. Hopefully everything will be moving right along, moving smooth, moving well, and for good reason, because you've asked for it. We've been asked in the past by some people, we're hearing everybody, and it's great. We love hearing everybody's experiences, but everybody brings something to the table. We've always said it here. I don't care if you've got 6 months in the hobby, if you've got 50 years in the hobby, we can all learn something from somebody. Everybody brings something to the table, and everybody's got a story to tell. And tonight, we've actually got one that some of you may know of, others may not have heard of, and maybe you're going, who is this person? I've never heard of this person before. Well, hey, great time to tune in then, right? So we're here on Sundays, we're here on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, always 8 p.m. Eastern. Why? That's just because we decided to throw the switch here, powers to be willing, and see what happens. Try to make coordinated chaos some nights. So congratulations to Bill on his win Sunday in the chat. Got himself a nice Kennedy half the way it sounds. And moving on, our links in the description tonight. Obviously, first and foremost, our friends over at Shooters and Prospectors. Chuck Smalley, the man with the plan, the dealer of choice, the one we like to promote over here on Beyond Sight and Sound. Our friends over at XTREME Scoops. Our friends at Detecteurs. Obviously, Ken's in the chat. Not sporting the Beyond Sight and Sound hoodie tonight, but I do have my Relic Hunter hoodie on. So I am still liking those Detecteurs hoodies when I'm out here in the studio. It's very nice. Very, very nice. So great products from them. Check them out. I'm still thinking of trying to work on something that we can do with the Beyond Sight and Sound shirts, those that are showing their support. Maybe we can get some sort of a contest around. We'll see what happens. Still working on it, though. I got a lot of pokers in the fire right now, people. And some of those have to do with bringing up some new guests that people have not heard of on any of the shows. Just to throw something different out there. Get some new perspectives on things. What people are up to, what they like to do, and hear their stories as well. So we've also got the links for XP Team USA, their Facebook page. Make sure and check out their website, their podcast every other Friday. The link for our featured group of the month, you could say, Dirt Pirates Detecting. I see Miss Barb in the chat there, the head pirate herself. And then below that, finally, the links of very, very important nature tonight, because those links you folks will want to watch. We've got the link for Missdetectorist Facebook page, the link for Missdetectorist Instagram, if you're an Instagram user, and the link for Missdetectorist on YouTube, which if you go over there, I know some people, I was sharing the link around, some people are already subscribing. Make sure to hit that notification bell. That way you get those notifications when videos get uploaded, because she will be mentioning she's uploading her first video soon. It's a work in progress. These things take time. So other than that, we should probably get right into things. It looks like everybody's kind of settling down a little bit in chat now. Good. And, yeah, let's get right into it. So our guest tonight is actually has the name, the moniker Missdetectorist. But she is essentially a cellar hole hunter, cellar dweller, out of the New England area. I don't know if she wants to get a little more specific on her location, but we'll leave that up to her. And her name is Maia Schofield. So let's bring her in. How's it going tonight, Maia?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
All right. I'm a little on the chilled side, but I'm sure you are too in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's cold.
What is the temperature out there?
Oh, geez, I haven't checked recently. Let's see. Well, it looks like it's 21, so it's actually not that cold.
Oh, see, well, here we're setting it 2 below with a wind chill of 20 below.
Ah, yeah. That makes my 20 degrees look nice and warm.
Yeah, I'm not feeling this cold weather. I think it's going to be a little bit before I'm able to get back into the ground here in Ohio.
Yeah. Quite a while, I'm sure. It's a little hard here too, but
right. Which I had mentioned earlier, you are in the New England area, we can say. Would you like to elaborate on that a little more, or are you comfortable with just the New England area?
Sure. I'm okay with that. So I am in New Hampshire. I'm in southern New Hampshire, but I tend to dig all over New England, really. So I'll be over in Mass, I'll be in Vermont, throughout New Hampshire. I haven't really done anything in Rhode Island or Maine yet, but, you know, you meet people and you go digging with them, so who knows where I'll end up.
Right, the possibilities are endless. We'll go where the road leads.
Yes.
Nice. And apparently, well, I guess first off, let's back up. Let's let people know who you are and what inspired you to get into the hobby. How did you get your start? What did you start with?
Sure. So I actually started off with coin collecting. I've been coin collecting for probably not actually that long, probably like 5 years. And I started off with like era coins and things in change, and then I started getting into some of the the cooler things like Morgan silver dollars. I was pulling out of junk bins at like pawn shops and things like that. And I wanted to get, into more colonial things, and I realized that gets quite expensive.
Yes, it does.
And I don't know where I saw it or read about it, but one day I just kind of got it in my head, wow, I should just go find my own. So I asked for a metal detector for my birthday, and my parents got me a White's Treasure Pro, and that kind of got the ball rolling.
Nice. Okay, so you weren't like one of these people that were under the impression of, what's this metal detecting stuff? It's an old man's sport. It's a geeky hobby. I don't want to be seen doing that.
I've always kind of known what it was, and I never really, I've always loved history, and I've always thought it was really cool, and I knew that, like, I was really interested in archaeology and anthropology growing up, so I actually thought it was really cool that people would use metal detectors to find, ancient sites or whatever they were researching. And so, yeah, I'm no stranger to it. I never for once even thought, who are these weird people?
Right, just going, everybody else thinks they're weird. I'll go be weird with them.
Yep.
Nice, okay. So how long did you use the Treasure Pro then? Do you remember, like, your first find? Did it just hook you?
So my first find with the Treasure Pro was not super, well, it wasn't super hooking. It was like a debuckle, which I thought was really cool. But it kind of just got me like, oh my God, I need to find more and more and more. So I suppose it was hooking. My first coin that I ended up finding was, of course, a wheat penny, like everybody, first finds. But I did manage to find I guess the thing that really did hook me was I went to actually my ancestors' cellar hole. They were nice enough to let me dig there, and I found a large cent I could never get a date off of it, but I imagine something he could have held and dropped there. And I found that with the White's Treasure Pro. So that is when I was 110%. All right, I got to keep doing this.
Right, I'm stuck. I'm in it for life now.
Yep.
Very cool way to do it. Kind of starting out, in a sense, finding your your own family history, I guess you could say.
Yeah, in a way. Yep.
That's very nice. So, how long did you use the Treasure Pro then? Because for those who have seen your Facebook page, we know that's not what you're using now.
Yeah, so I used the Treasure Pro for about the season, I guess. So I got it in April, and I was digging as long as I could, or I've learned now that you can dig all year round. But back then I didn't realize that. So I think I used it until like September, October, and then I got a CTX. Probably, oh gosh, I think it might have also been around April. And then I've been using that ever since. I picked up a Equinox 800 as well. So I've been using, I think I'm at a year with the CTX and year and a half maybe, and then probably a half a year with the Nox.
Nice. Okay, so you had mentioned when you started out you had hit your ancestors' cellar hole basically, and it sounds like primarily you do hunt woods and cellar holes. You're not so much for the beach or the parks or anything like that. And was that the way you've pretty much been from the beginning?
So not entirely. I've never really liked the beach very much, to be 100% honest. Haven't had anything crazy come out of it. I think if I find something nuts, like I find a real or I find a gold coin or something, I'll be open to digging on the beach. But I've been more interested in digging in dirt. So I do permissions, in the spring and in the summer when it's not, I don't do it this time of year because you can really mess up people's lawns, and that's not a good idea for the hobby and future permissions. But I do the cellars in the woods pretty much, well, in the heat of the summer and then throughout the winter because it doesn't freeze.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense because obviously in the woods it takes longer for the ground to freeze up, so your hunting season is extended.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just checking some things here real quick. So basically then, you say, well, I might be more receptive to the beach if, I find a real or a gold coin. So you don't sound like you're so much for the jewelry or anything like that. You're more for the history. You have a passion for the history.
Yeah, that's definitely it. And that's why I'm not into older parks, yes, but I'm not super into modern parks and stuff. Jewelry's cool, and if I find cool jewelry, that's awesome, but really I'm looking for coins and relics and things that kind of connect us to the past. And I love finding old spoons and buckles and things that most people think are kind of silly. But I love it.
So
it's their history.
So I'm kind of picking up here then you're not even so much the the park hunter or just looking for the clad coins or anything. You're a relic girl.
Yeah, I'm a relic girl and a coin girl, yes.
Nice. So did you get into it, like you said you were into coin collecting and you thought, hey, I can go out and I can find coins this way maybe rather than having to pay for them and all of that. Mm-hmm. So you kind of started out from the go looking for the history, the old coins, the relics. It's not like some of these people that they start out, say, a coin shooter in a park, and they find that they evolve to another style of hunting.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely, yes and no, I guess, actually, because when I was starting out, I was really just looking for coins, and I was only digging things that I thought were coins, and it takes a long time to learn what things are coins, even with a great machine like the CTX. So I found myself digging things that were not coins and realizing that they're pretty cool. You can dig a lot of cool stuff that's not coins. So
absolutely,
then
you can.
Yep. So then I just decided to just dig it all.
Hey, I like that mentality. That is awesome. People that put, I don't know, I guess the best way to put it would be that people with the screen machines that put too much faith in the VDIs, they're missing a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It's very easy to discriminate out, and a lot of times too, in different soils, things will never quite read the same.
Absolutely.
So you have to be careful.
Yes, definitely. So when you started out in the hobby then, did you know other people in the hobby, or have you had to kind of look for them along the way? Did you have anybody to kind of help show you the ropes?
When I first started, it was just me. I had nobody that I knew. I didn't join a group or anything. I didn't have any friends I didn't even know there was anybody in town. Since then, so then what I ended up doing was, once I got the CTX, my mom would go with me, quite a bit. And since then I've made a lot of friends. I'm working on joining a group. Everybody keeps asking me to, and I keep forgetting to put my application in, but Granite State, Treasure Hunters, I'm going to get there. I see there's some people in here from there, so.
It's a work in progress.
I need to get some ink for my printer, that's all.
Uh-huh.
Yep, that's the real truth. But, the thing that kind of put me in touch with all of this, was I went to Best of the Northeast, Bone.
Oh, yeah, the Bone Dig.
Yep, the Bone Dig in Keene. And that was like the first time I was out with the CTX, so that was it was a pretty big jump off, and I had my mom come with me, and she used the Treasure Pro. And I met a lot of people, and interestingly enough, I met Michael Bennett, who is Nugget Noggin.
Right.
As you all know him. And the Hoover Boys. And I had no clue who they were. So that was interesting. But once I did figure out who they were, and I watched some of their videos, and I was like, this is really cool. Like, there's a serious community for this, and I decided something I would love to do one day. So I didn't think I could start right off with a YouTube. I thought it took too much time, and I wasn't quite comfortable with it yet, but I did the Instagram.
It can take a lot of time, but then again, any of these platforms of social media can. YouTube is a little more time intensive.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it doesn't work for everybody. Some people just, and I don't know, I guess we'll see that with the publishing of your first video. Some people just aren't real comfortable with being in front of the camera, or even being recorded, period.
Oh, well, you'll see that's not me.
Okay. Well, and man, that's kind of, you're taking some big leaps here. You've went from the Treasure Pro to the CTX. Bone apparently was your first experience with an organized event, and that's kind of a large event. You're moving by leaps and bounds.
You could say that, yeah.
I guess a real sense of adventure.
Yes, I've never done anything halfway. That's my my view on it.
Oh, okay. So it's all or none.
Yep.
Nice. So, did you find when you started out, you said you liked to do permissions as well. Did you find that was difficult for you at first, or do you find that being a woman digger in the hobby maybe it's a little easier for you to get permissions?
I found that it was, I definitely found it difficult when I first started. And I don't know, I know everybody thinks that being a woman helps with it. But I get no's and yeses, pretty similar rates. I've actually found, one thing I have noticed though, is when I go with another person, when I go with a man, we kind of like good cop, bad cop. And usually they'll ask, and then I come over and I start chatting, and that actually works really well for permissions. So I think it could also just be having two people.
Right. That's interesting, though. I've heard a lot of different approaches for people to get permission, but I don't think I've heard it put quite like that.
Yeah, maybe good cop, bad cop wasn't the correct way to say it, but two different
right,
people.
two different people, two different perspectives, two sides of the story sometimes, and maybe that makes the landowner a little more receptive, or maybe it's just due diligence, both of you, between the two of you, you wear them down to a yes.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at all. So now that you've been into the hobby for a while, like you said, you didn't necessarily know who the Hoover Boys were, some of these other people that you were meeting. So apparently you spend obviously more time in the field than you do on YouTube. Did you find that once you started checking out, some of these videos, maybe looking into some of these people that you were meeting at these events, or maybe just randomly out in the field or whatever, that you found some that were, maybe they were doing things a little differently than some of the others, and that was just kind of catching your attention? Do you have anybody in the hobby that you kind of look up to, or you find inspiring to you?
Oh, geez. That was a long question. Do I have anybody in the hobby that is inspiring to me?
Well, you
as
see,
far as
some of us, we go out and it's not necessarily that anybody motivates us. It's the history that motivates us. But some of us, we kind of go, oh yeah, we're watching close. Did you see the Hoover Boys' last video? Man, did you see what they found? I'd love to find stuff like that. Or did you see Nugget Noggin's recent video? I really appreciate what he does for the hobby. Really look up to him, or anything of that nature.
I gotcha. Yeah. So honestly, I think I appreciate the videos, and I think it's awesome. I love seeing what they do for the hobby, but I think really for me, it comes back to just getting out there for the history. I think that's what motivates me, is learning and getting out there and just getting my hands dirty and seeing what I can find. And I think that is what motivates me, really.
And with the stuff that you're finding, because you've posted up some very nice pictures of finds, do you find yourself, trying to? It's more about the story behind the find, or trying to research maybe the proper way to preserve it?
Yeah, so I find myself researching a lot about sometimes what the find is, where it would have come from, what time period it would have been from, and I find myself doing a lot of research on that. I haven't put a ton of information into the Instagram posts because you are limited to how much you can put in there, unfortunately.
Right.
But yeah, I do a lot of research. I have all sorts of button books and buckle books, and some different resources I use, as well as, of course, the handy dandy internet.
Well, yeah, the ID Me pages and Google can be your friend at times, I'm sure. So it sounds like, since you're so avid on research, I assume that you probably put a lot of research into finding your locations that you're hunting as well. How do you go about doing that?
Well, a lot of times I'll just look at old maps, and look at, what's there now, and kind of go based off of that. So if there's, there'll be maps from like 1860s, and you can look and match up the roads, and a lot of times that's how I'll do it.
Nice. So do you do any of the overlaying, or are you more, kind of the old-fashioned sort? You did say your printer's out of ink. Maybe you ran it all out, printing out these maps and just hitting the dirt?
No, I overlay stuff, and I get GPS coordinates and all that. So I'm actually pretty high tech treasure hunter. I have it all on my phone, and I know where I'm going.
Nice. Any favorite apps you use for it?
I use Google Maps, honestly, and I like it because I can just drop a pin wherever, and yeah, you can even change it. You can label what it is. So if you think it's a cellar hole, you can label that. As far as like apps for getting the old maps and things, I mean, there's historic aerials, old maps online, historic MapWorks, and those all, you can get maps from them.
Nice, not bad. So you're using a number of the different resources that many of the rest of us use. I'm assuming you found these on your own, or maybe somebody kind of threw you a tip?
So I also found these on my own. I didn't have, the first year that I dug, I didn't really know anybody. So I definitely felt very alone.
The introvert adventurer.
Yes. Yes, I was for the first year. I honestly had no clue there was such a giant community all over the world, of diggers. So you can imagine my excitement when I discovered that you guys were all out here.
Right, I'm not as crazy as I think. There's more of us, and we're everywhere. Wow. Well, that works out all right. Now that you've had the chance to meet up with a few people, though, because I know for some of us, especially if we're hunting out in the woods, and I suppose I can see where this may even be more of a concern for a woman digger. Sometimes it's not the best idea to hunt alone.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely like to go with people, particularly in the woods and particularly this time of year. Not just, I mean, really it's a safety hazard. This time of year with our temperatures being, 20 degrees, if I was out in the woods, didn't have cell signal, trip, fall, I could get hurt and I could be out there and freeze, So I definitely think it's a safety concern. And it's in general, I prefer to go with someone. I also like to, have company along. I just think it's more fun.
Well, yeah, I can see where that would go a long way in its own. I mean, sometimes you make these nice finds, and it's very enjoyable to have someone there to share in the experience, so to think. You find that great item and you're just itching to show it to somebody. And you've got someone right there then, or maybe they're finding something great that you're getting to check out.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it, but I'm sure that's why people started YouTubes too, is because that's kind of in a way you're capturing that to show people later. But,
or even documenting it for yourself, I guess.
True.
Very nice. And apparently you're not just into the whole coin relic part of it and only metal detecting. The way it sounds, at the very least, you're also into the bottle digging side of it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so I consider the bottle digging and the cellar holing inside of the cellar hole kind of the same sort of realm. But yes, I do enjoy bottle digging. I'm starting to get into it. I haven't really, a lot of times when I go bottle digging, it's because I go metal detecting and then I end up, there's, no signals, or there's tons of signals, and I see bottles and I just go for the bottles. Recently just had a bottle digging trip, which we did film. And as you alluded to, it is going to be up on my channel, probably looking at tomorrow, hopefully, for the air date. So definitely going to want to subscribe and have that notification set up.
Nice. Is there going to be, is this just your experience, or were you digging with friends? Is there anybody that we may know that we may spot?
Possibly. So I was digging with, some of these local guys might know, Aaron Pratt. He doesn't have like a YouTube or anything. But so yeah, I'm not sure if anybody would know him.
Yeah,
but,
I know Aaron. He's actually on my friends list. He does fairly well himself.
Mm-hmm. And then the other person that I was digging with is Jimmy, and Doug should know him because he's part of that group, I believe. And yeah, we've been going out metal detecting out cellar holes lately, and we just happened upon that bottle dump, so we started filming.
Nice. And speaking of Doug, Doug Bowden's in the chat there, Awesome Relics New England. He is still accepting donations for the Penguin Dig, and being the location that you're in, is that something that you've given thought to attending?
Yes, I am attending. Last year I sent him a bunch of foreign coins, but they were old, and I should still have some, so I'm gonna send him a little shipment. I know we're doing the donation, so I will be there.
Nice, very nice. I've got some coins and things set aside. I'm hoping I can get a package out to him in time. Just have to wait and see. Normally I try to get a little something out to him, and we always enjoy plugging the Penguin Dig here on the show. He puts on a great event out there.
Yeah, I went last year, actually. And it was, I actually won an award last year, the most determined.
I can see that. You do seem very passionate and energetic for the hobby, very determined. I guess that kind of goes along with the all or none, though.
Mm-hmm. I'd say so.
So do you remember, what was that first just kind of mind-blowing find for you where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I found this?
So my first totally mind-blowing find, this is only my first because it happened before my second totally mind-blowing find, which I can tell you about both.
Okay.
But my first totally mind-blowing find, I was using the CTX. I was at the Bone Dig. I think I was somewhere near Keene, maybe Peterborough, on an old cart road, and kind of just walking down the road, swinging, wasn't really getting much stuff. And then all of a sudden I got a great signal. It was a little jumpy from one direction, one from the other. I know now that means button, usually. But anyways, I dug it up, and it was a button, and I could see these little deer on it. And I thought it was really cool. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. So I ended up bringing it to the show at the end of the week, because I was going to ask the button man how to clean it. And he said to put it in lemon juice, and I put lemon juice on it, and it just totally turned to gold. Just completely, gilt showed up right away, and it's gorgeous.
Really makes it pop.
Yep, and I did win an award for that too. I won an award for the Natural Hunt's Best Find, so that was pretty cool.
Nice, and this was your first time attending?
That was my first organized hunt, yep.
Very good. And what did you find out that the button was?
So it's it's like an 1860s, 1850s hunting coat button. It's like a game button. It has three steer on it, or not steer, rather deer. Nice.
And the second just amazing find you said that you had mentioned?
Yeah. So second super amazing find that I found. Well, I have a lot actually. These are my first two earlier ones, I guess. So I was out in the woods, not far from my house, actually probably 20 minutes. And I was digging around. I dug up a whole bunch of shotgun shells and stuff that I still think are cool for the old shotgun shells, but you're not super excited about it.
Right.
I was swinging underneath the bush, and I got a signal that sounded so, like, too good to be true. And I was thinking it was a beer can, because it was saying that it was really shallow. And it wasn't. It was a 1890s Salem, New Hampshire Police Department badge, an inch down, right underneath a bush. And,
Wow.
and and I remember, to be honest, I really don't know much about the old badges. And, when I first took it out and looked at it, I kind of thought it was a play badge. So I didn't think much of it until I got home. And I showed my dad it, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, that's old. That's not, that's not fake. That's not a toy. That's real." I was like, "Really? Oh, cool." So I got researching and I found out that indeed, it would have been from around the 1890s. Yeah.
And that is definitely one to be proud of for sure. That is one heck of an achievement. I'm sure you've probably got it set up in a nice display or something. Probably quite proud to show it off.
Yep, it has its own little case. That and the button have their own little containers.
Because those, I mean, you figure, like you said at first, I thought maybe it was a play badge, and sure, they pop up every now and then, but when you find the real ones, those are kind of few and far between. You know, police officers didn't just throw them away or anything. That had to have been lost for some reason.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, like, always gets me on it. I would love to know what happened, because it wasn't actually found in that town. It was found the next town over, and I checked, and the property, they didn't change. The boundaries of the towns didn't change. So it would have been this Salem police officer in a totally different town losing his badge.
Wow. And
pretty strange.
where this was, I guess, did you have research that led you to this location or anything, or you were just kind of out wandering around or whatever, and hey, I'll hunt here and just stumbled on it? Or was it a home site?
So, interestingly enough, it was a couple of things. So I had permission to a farm that was close by to it, and so I dug that farm and, you know, everything around the property. And then they said, "Oh, we also own that woods out back if you want to check that out." So took a little hike out there, and right in that woods that they owned, under the bush, found that.
So there weren't necessarily any expectations or anything. That one kind of blindsided you.
That was kind of just figured I'd walk around, you know, because everything used to be old farms. I figured maybe there's an ox knob or whatever.
Right. But certainly not expecting that, though.
No, definitely not.
And we've got a caller. How is it going, Chuck?
Hey, how's it going?
All right.
There's some questions rolling on the screen there, and I thought I'd get in and ask her. Maia, the group was one of the guys in the group. You're using MyLab. You're using the Equinox and the CTX 3030, which are both grand little machines. The 3030 has become legendary. And a couple questions. One of them was, Mr. Hoover placed on there, what's your preference between those two machines?
So I would say different machines for different things.
Okay.
I of course like the lightweightness of the Equinox.
Sure.
I tend to like it in a place where I need faster recovery.
Nice.
And,
heavy trash.
Heavy trash. So if I'm going to go in an actual cellar hole and dig in the cellar hole, which I do occasionally, I tend to bring both machines, honestly, every time I go digging.
Doing your homework.
Yep. But, I tend to.
Very good.
Yep. And then the CTX, I'll use for just about everything else.
Okay. Did you get the CTX before the 800, evidently?
Yep.
Okay, good. Now, did you find yourself having a major learning curve on that?
From the CTX to the Equinox, or just to the CTX?
I think from the
what you were using.
Yeah, from the Treasure Pro to the CTX.
Treasure Pro to the CTX.
Because that is a leap.
Yes. Yeah, yes, it was a strong learning curve.
Did you seek any help, or did you do this on your own?
So I did seek help. Like I said before, when I went to Bone, that was my first organized hunt, I brought the CTX, and that was actually my first time out with it. So I was actually able to get a ton of help from different, people that were there at the hunt. And that helped a lot. And somebody had recommended a book for me, and
Andy's
so
CTX book.
Davishes.
Yep, exactly.
Great guy,
So-
great guy.
Good.
Yep. So I picked that up and read that thing front to back pretty religiously, and that certainly helped. And other than that, just getting out and getting experience with it is the biggest thing.
Right,
Very
nothing
good. It sounds
beats
like you're
real
doing well
infield learning.
as a novice and starting out and getting actually, in my opinion, into the right detectors for what you're doing.
Well, thank
Right.
you.
Chuck does know his detectors, especially when it comes to the CTX.
I've been using that. Well, actually, my serial number on my CTX is 13.
Wow. Lucky 13. That's my lucky number.
Birth date, my lucky number, and I'll go along with it anyway. But they gave me that. I went around the country instructing people on it, other dealers for Mine Lab.
Wow.
So, anyway, it sounds like you're doing good. You got into a great hunt, the bone hunts. I've never been able to go to one. There's a bit of a logistics from northwest corner of Illinois, where right now we're at minus 26, and out that far. But someday, maybe, George and I have been in contact, and he kind of sends a nudge to me once in a while to come to Bone.
Well, you ought to come.
Summer weekend, well, I'll tell you what, it gets busy. But no, it sounds like you're doing very well. And there's some other questions in the chat, and we got talking about the one. I've kind of forgotten them. If anybody's got questions there, throw them up at me, and I'll ask her.
Yeah,
for you.
hit us with them. Yeah, my chat's locked up already on this side.
Well, I couldn't hear you all the time, but the chat was flying.
Right? Yeah, it did look like it was flying, for sure.
It was for a while. See if anybody's got anything else that they want to add in here.
Well, while we're
Mark
waiting to see if they've got any questions, do you use any other accessory coils with the CTX or the Equinox, Maya?
I do. So I have the 10x5 from Coiltech with the
Nice
CTX.
coil.
And and that's pretty much mostly what I use for a couple different reasons. Just because whenever I'm out in the woods, it is really hard to move that big coil around and we have a lot of like random sticks that stick out of the ground. Anybody in New England gets that. And they get stuck. So I find that's easiest for that. And then I also like that it's a little narrower, so I can do a little better pinpointing if I'm on private property. Make sure it's nice and neat.
Absolutely, and still get
Yeah.
very commendable depth out of it as well. We've got another caller on with us, too, out of New Jersey. How's it going, Fred?
Hey, Josh, Chuck, and Maya. Is that your name, Maya?
Yep.
Maya? Okay.
Maya.
Hi. You're a New England detectorist? I missed the beginning of the show, so I don't know exactly where you're from. But
Sure, yeah.
that
So
where
I'm in New England. I'm in New Hampshire.
Oh, you're in New Hampshire.
Mhm.
Oh, so you're right up in, and you go to the Bone Dig, you said. I heard you talking about that.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I've gone to that for the last 3 years, and I enjoy that hunt a lot. That's my kind of hunting, natural field, forest hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that any day. And I also use a CTX and a Deus. I haven't gotten into the Equinox yet, but one of these days I probably will. Yeah, I've been hearing everybody raving about that. How's it going, Chuck? You staying warm up there?
Yeah, it's minus 27.
I hope you don't have to go out fighting any fires.
Well, we've been chasing the ambulances, but that's for another time.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, they have a big fire going down here in New Jersey at a paper plant.
Oh.
And, that started this afternoon, and they're having a tough time fighting. It was 11 degrees with about a 30-mile-an-hour wind, so they were all getting sprayed with water and freezing up and everything. So that's a tough job being a fireman.
Yes, it is.
Especially when it gets down this cold. I know it's colder out by you. You guys
So
are
what?
0, right? Yeah. But anyway, I diverged. I was talking to Maia about her experience. And you're a fairly new detectorist?
Been doing it about 3 years now.
Okay. All right. And what would you classify as your favorite find?
So my favorite find, probably, I would say, is that Salem, New Hampshire Police Department badge.
Okay.
1890s police badge, and you'll see it right up on the icon. Mm-hmm.
Is there any number on that badge?
Oh, good question.
It's just plain badge.
Number 24.
You can look up the person that lost that.
I've heard that before, and I just don't know how to go about doing it.
Oh, I saw it was a Salem, New Hampshire, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw the picture of it. Yeah, that's really cool. And I would think they'd have an archive of some type in Salem that would have a list of those.
Historical Society. Tell them what you got, and they'll either have something for you, because it would be just terribly interesting to know who carried that badge.
Not to mention
we might find out how it got there.
Yeah, not to mention how
Maybe it was
cool.
lost.
Yeah, not to mention how cool would that be to, if you could track down that information, to put that in the display with the badge, maybe even have a photo of the gentleman that lost it.
Those
I like it. Good ideas.
to get. You might even find that online.
Yeah, we got a lot of people out there listening that are good at research. If they happen to come up with some ideas or find information about it, I'm sure they can always shoot Maia a message on the Missdetectorist Facebook page, or even shoot me a message, and I can get the information to her.
Yeah, and where was that located when you found it?
So that was, it was in the woods. It was actually only about an inch down, just underneath a bush.
Wow. Oh. So maybe he was chasing
that probably
it through the woods.
Off.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chuck.
I said that probably blew her ears off an inch under the ground.
Yep. That's why I thought it was a beer can.
Yeah, you would think it's probably like an overload signal.
Yeah.
And how do you feel the Equinox compares, along with your CTX? I know it's much lighter.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, before, I think they're two different machines for two different things. But they both do very well. The CTX is still the king, of course. But I would say that if, somebody is looking for a really good, they're the step down from the CTX, but definitely significant step up from a lot of other detectors, the Equinox is awesome.
Oh yeah, mid-range price, very well performing.
Because I think that's, MindLab's answer to the Deus.
Yeah.
After studying that machine for a few years, I'm sure they wanted to come along with something comparable. Have you ever used a Deus or had any experience with that machine?
I have not, but I was between the Deus and the CTX when I was deciding to purchase my first big detector.
Okay. Yeah, I think the MindLab Equinox has I don't have experience with it, but I've heard it has a shorter learning curve than the Deus as far as settings and and variability that you can set up the machine. I don't know. Is that so, Chuck? Do you
It
feel
is
that way?
very user-friendly. The user
Mhm.
menu is very easy navigation.
You know, well, Josh, you and I have discussed this how many times. The race is on, and
That's right.
There's 4 or 5 machines in that mid-range section that are really nice to grab onto and learn. And, you know, it's like anything else, 1 or 2 machines is one thing, but having maybe 3 or 4, because if I'm going to Virginia, I'm using pulse induction. If I'm going out into the mountains in California or up into Alaska where we're gold hunting, it's PI, but some of these mid-range that are coming out now are actually proving themselves as doing pretty well versus pulse induction. So they're lightweight, they have real easy user menus, and that ORX, I can't wait to get out with that, Fred. So,
Oh, yeah. That's like
simple.
a sort of a Deus Light or something, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
slim
Right.
down on the menus and so forth.
Yeah, and we're seeing great things from it already as well.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Maia,
saying
you're
I'm gonna
getting
load
into
that,
it at the right time. You're using an Equinox. You have the availability of going into a Deus, which is 3 ounces lighter than the Equinox. And I mean, you know, the lightweight thing is great, but now you've got Amphibio and you got the Equinox series, and they're waterproof. I'm watching guys diving with them. They're sticking Anderson shafts on them. They're going down and just tearing it up on, you know, the hunting the beach out to chest deep is one thing, but these guys are going down 7, 8, 9 feet out further, and they're tearing it up with fantastic finds of rings and jewelry and things like that. It was just one step further out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. I'm excited to use it more. I've been kind of trying to. Lately, I've been focusing mainly on the Equinox so I can get my, fully learn the machine, and it's so far it's been great.
What kind of ground New Hampshire offers, how hot that soil is as far as mineralization or hot rocks. But going into the Equinox, you can go into gold prospector mode. You can fine tune that, and it's a heck of a relic machine.
Yes, it can be.
Well, that's fairly neutral soil up in New Hampshire, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Not really. Yeah, because I've never really had to change my settings too much hunting up there, because like I said, I go up to the bone dig, and I use, basically 2 detectors. I use the Deus or the CTX, and nothing like being out in the woods all day or in fields. I just love it. But and are you going there this year?
I am. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'll
Man,
see you up
doing
there.
bone and the penguin dig. You're a busy girl.
And I'm supposed to be going to a hunt in Virginia the first week of April when they announce it.
Nice.
So is that like a DIV type of hunt or a different type of hunt?
The
invited where they get a field, they lease a field and you go out and that type of thing? No?
well, sort of. So it's just go digging.
Right, the JGD.
Oh, yeah, that's similar. It's not a seeded hunt. They go out and they look for they go
Natural.
to, campsites or whatever, wherever the soldiers were staying, and they look for artifacts.
I'll tell you what, they put their homework in too. I've seen people make some killer finds at the JGD events.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of nice stuff come out of there. I mean, especially when they find those huts, when they really go deep and they pull up not only metal things, but bottles and inkwells and things like that.
Right. Yeah, I have to be very careful when I'm reviewing those photos and do it through my smartphone. That way I'm not drooling all over my computer.
Oh, well. Yeah, so it's, I know Barb likes to go to the digging in Virginia.
Right.
Hunt. Twice a year she goes usually, and she always has a great time with that. It's you got like Chuck said, I think the PI machines usually perform a little better in that real hot soil, but I'm not sure where you're going if it has that same hot soil or not.
Well, but the beauty of the Equinox is that we've seen that it can also perform very well in the mineralized soil. You may not get the depth that you would out of a PI machine, but there again, we're comparing apples to oranges, and that's a good cost-effective way to still kind of get into those environments and make those nice finds.
Yeah, and if you find a wooded area, it neutralizes that soil a little bit. I think that's what I've heard, that the regular machines perform a little better in the wooded areas for finding bullets and buttons and things. So anyway, well, it seems like you're very determined, and you should be a good learning experience for you in a whole different environment.
Yeah. I would say she is definitely that.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Maia, you have, and I agree with them. They made a comment there on the page that you have a great radio voice and presence.
Yes, she does.
Well, thank you.
Her audio is impeccable.
Yeah, it's really clear. Yeah, it's very. Sounds like you're right there in the room. So, but I don't know if Josh has room for you there.
Well, that's the beauty of technology. We can reach out and get them wherever they're at.
Yeah, well, I heard them complaining about Skype on Relic Roundup. They were having some real difficulties on Monday night. Their audio went crapped out and it was all scratchy. And they said that Microsoft bought it or something, and since then it's been down. Is that what you use? You use Skype?
Well, there have been some issues with Skype for a while with the shows, and a lot of the shows have lost their call capability. Last Thursday, I believe it was, Relic's radio even had some issues. I know they were trying to work through it. I'm not sure if they were able to get that worked out or not. So there is a possibility that right now we may be the only one that still has our caller capability as of yet. But we are fighting it tooth and nail. I mean, Loy has been working very, very hard and very diligently to keep that option available for the podcasts.
Right. Yeah. Well, you depend on it, so it's got to work. So, Maia, I understand you have this. I actually subscribed to your YouTube site. I didn't see that you had any videos yet, but
it's coming.
What are your plans with that? You're in production mode, or?
Yep. So I'm in production mode. Well, actually, I'm in editing mode now. So yes, there is a video on my laptop right now that is being edited, and I was hoping to get it up before the show tonight, but that did not happen. So definitely before the weekend. Hopefully tomorrow.
Right. Well, I wait with.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions for you, Maia.
All right, shoot.
Humsworth, do you water hunt?
Do I water hunt? I have done a tiny bit of water hunting, but I have not really gotten into it. I would love to start doing that, though. Particularly during, the heat of the summer. It gets cold here, but it also gets very hot here. So I mean.
Now I wish I was in the Caribbean, but other than that, and how do you go about asking for your permissions?
So there's a couple different methods. So, one method that works really well for me is just calling up people who I know. That I've known forever, like, people who was, a teacher of mine from school and whatever, or old babysitter, and, just say, hey, I'm into this thing now, you remember me? Okay. And a lot of times that's like an instant yes. So that's a good way to get just a few.
Right.
And then from there, you can actually I kind of call it like a little web. You can start, asking, they'll start telling their friends, networking. Yep. And you can get more permissions on the street and go from there. Otherwise, other than that, I mean, I do just door knock. And I actually got a really crazy permission door knocking. I knocked on the door of the Josiah Bartlett house, which you guys all know history, so you probably know who he is, but signer of Declaration of Independence.
Very
has a house.
Nice.
Yeah, house right near me, probably 10 minutes away from where I am. And knocked on the door, asked if I could dig, and they said, sure.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so that was really cool. It's
Anything
kind of goes
cool
to
there?
show. Yeah, places you think people wouldn't say yes, sometimes they do.
Well, that is nice.
The other
Kudos
one
to you.
is your YouTube channel is youtube.com/user/Maia DAPAPAY.
That I don't think that's me.
I do.
Is that what I pulled up?
Missdetectorist, I put in and it brought you up.
Right,
Okay,
and
Missdetectorist, Chris.
And the link is in the description, Chris. It's the last link in the links in the description. It says Missdetectorist on YouTube with the link.
Right.
Or go back and check the Beyond Sight and Sound page, Beyond Sight and Sound group, or even my timeline. I shared it in all of those spots yesterday.
Well, speaking of getting permissions, that's something that that's sort of my New Year's resolution, is to try to get better, or even start doing that, because I've always been hesitant to just walk cold up to a property and ask permission. But I usually use a networking thing or a connection for my permissions on new lands. Like I have to help my wife's nephew split a new house, and it's right next to the park down here where George Washington's soldiers camped. 12,000 of them camped in the winter of 1792
killing
or
me,
something.
Fred.
Yeah. And well, that's where I found, I don't know if you saw that picture of that belt buckle I found, Josh.
I did. That thing looked awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. It came up in like 3 pieces because the middle bar was rusted out, but it's, it's definitely a 1700s shoe buckle.
Absolutely.
And, I love finding,
all day long.
I love finding those things. Yeah. And so that was just Sunday. I was doing a hunt up there, and I planned to go back, but I have like access to those woods, and it's just, you never know what's going to be up there, That's what makes, to me, woods hunting so, you'll walk for half an hour and never get even a beep, and all of a sudden you get a good signal, and that's when the adrenaline starts to go. You don't know if it could be anything good, there isn't a lot of garbage in those woods, I'll tell you that much, which is nice. So when you do hit a signal, it's probably something decent anyway, but, that's the only real good thing I found in about 2.5 hours of hunting, but I'll take that anytime.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth the effort.
Yeah, those type of, I'm like you, Maya, in the respect that I don't, I'm not a real big park hunter, and I go to the beach occasionally, but to me, just getting out and having that detector in the woods and finding because I'm in New Jersey, and we have a fair amount of good colonial era type things, like the Continental Army went right through here on their way down to Virginia, right through my town. So, my neighbor found a Revolutionary War cannonball in her backyard. And,
wow.
I found,
that's on the bucket list.
Yeah.
There you go.
I found, musket balls in my yard. I found them in the road. So, there was activity around here all through that period. And it's just a matter of going to places where it hasn't been developed, because New Jersey is very developed, I assume you're near Salem, New Hampshire, because you found that policeman's badge. But how is that in relationship to where they have bone? Is that closer to the ocean? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so where I'm at is much closer to the ocean. I live 30 minutes from the beach.
Okay.
And so Bone is over on the other side of the state, closer to Vermont.
Yeah, it's right next to Vermont. Yeah.
Like about a 10-minute drive.
That's more than that, Chuck. You really?
Oh yeah, more than that.
They were just these little skinny strips.
He's mocking you. He's mocking you for the close proximity.
I'm having fun with it. But I do have another question for you. You said you obtained a permission. They asked what you found there. Did you find anything?
So this one's the answer to this is kind of sad.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so it was pretty hunted out. Well, yes. So there's more to that too. I don't know if Michael Bennett's listening, but I'm going to tell his story anyways. So I brought Michael there, and I had door knocked previously. So I found a few things, checked it out along the perimeter of the area. I found like a button, just a few little things. I didn't want to hit it all because I knew I wanted to bring him with me, to come back. So when he came back, our understanding with the homeowner was that anything pre-1800, so anything like Civil War era, or anything that had to do with the house, they were going to keep, anything later we could keep, which sounded fine. And everything was very hunted out there, except for there's this gorgeous giant oak tree in the front yard, and Michael went to go swing around it, and he got a crazy signal, and he was like, oh, this could be a beer can, but it was a Barber $50, I think it was a 1901 Barber $50. And it was gorgeous, and we had to give it up, so that's...
oh, really? They wanted that too?
Yep. So the video never aired.
I'm sure that hurt him a lot, because I know he likes to keep what he finds usually.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a shame. I mean, I thought anything Civil War. That's not Civil War, is it?
I know.
It's like
I know.
1900s or something. That's a shame.
Well, big pieces of silver do funny things to people.
Yeah.
No
right.
Kidding. It's like gold fever or silver fever, but.
Right.
I love hearing those stories where people say they get a permission, like, can I metal detect here? And they say, oh, yeah, sure, as long as you don't dig any holes. I've heard that story before. That would be the ultimate frustration. You're getting signals like that, and you couldn't dig a hole.
Yeah, I could.
It doesn't make any sense, you know. But, you know, you just have to show people that you know how to dig a plug, and you leave without showing these gigantic craters or, you know, of course you do something in the middle of summer, you're going to have, you know, it's hard to do that on private properties, lawns and so forth. So that's why you should only do it at the best times, you know, optimal times. But, no, that sounds great. I mean, I haven't gotten a permission like that on a really historic property like that, but that's got to be cool, hunting a place like that.
Hey, you never know, Fred. Yours may be just around the corner.
Well, I'm always trying, so it's, you know, it's good. I look forward to, maybe I'll meet you up there, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your show. I'm sure other people might want to call in. I just wanted to say hello and wish you the best of luck. You sound like, you know, you're going to have a good career with, you know, Michael personally, or Michael Bennett?
So I do now.
Oh, okay.
He's
like
I said before.
I met him at a show. I met him down at Butch Holcomb's Civil War show a couple of years ago, and he was kind enough to let me take a picture with him and stuff. And he's a real gentleman. He's very religious, and I think that's a great thing. He sticks to his convictions, and no matter how many people, you know, some people don't think religion is a good thing anymore. You know, it's not become a you know, a lot of people are anti-religion. I don't know why, but he's a very dedicated man. He's a really a super ambassador for the hobby, I think. You know, he brings a lot of these young kids. They're so interested in him. He has such a way about him. He's an affable, likable person. So it's nice. I look forward to running into him one of these days too. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be up at the Bone this year, is he? I know they're going to have a couple celebrities up there. Going to have like
Aqua Chigger.
Aqua Chigger is going to be there and stuff. So, and I think the what's their name, Ringy and King George, I think they're going to be up there.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun, seeing those guys swinging around on trees or something. But so all right, I'll let you get on with your show. But it was very nice talking to you, and Josh.
It was nice to talk to you too.
Yeah, keep that furnace going, Josh.
No, I'm working on
it. Throw some logs in there or something. But and Chuck, I hope you don't have to do any runs for all your.
That's all right. I'm hoping not either, and you be safe out there, and hopefully your weather breaks. Dave asked me a question here when we're going to go hunt together, and as soon as it thaws.
yeah. No hunting now unless you got like a jackhammer or something.
Right. It could be a while for us.
Yeah, you guys just pray for warm weather. We'll have it soon enough. But it was great talking to everybody, and have a good night. I'll listen to the rest of the show.
Thanks for the
call, nice
Fred.
Talking to you, Maya.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Any other questions out of the chat, Chuck?
Not seeing too much at this time. I think we covered them all. And Maya, you sound like you're on the right path for our hobby, and you're representing us well. And I hope you all a great good luck out there. And hope to see your YouTube, and that'd be a lot of fun. I'll try and hook up on that. And keep working with those mind labs.
Yeah.
You'll be amazed.
Well, thank you.
Literally, you will be amazed. Great pieces of equipment.
They're doing
I'm
well
going to
so
back
far.
out of here. It's about 8:15, and but thanks for letting me call in, Josh. Maya, have a great night. Great hunting to you, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks for
You're
the call,
welcome.
Chuck.
Have a good night.
See you, Josh. Bye.
And he's right. Those mine labs, they are some really great pieces of equipment. I mean, nothing finds deep silver like a mine lab will.
Nope. They're definitely, people are telling people to call in.
Well,
I'm looking at this chat.
we'll see what happens.
does
We
it.
still got a few minutes. Any thoughts to, you said you run the 10x5 coil tech on the CTX. Any thoughts to trying any accessory coils for the Equinox?
So, last I checked, they didn't have any other than the Mine Lab produced ones, which is the 6-inch and the,
And the 15.
So, yeah. So, I have the 6-inch. I haven't gotten a chance to try it yet. I'm not a huge fan of the huge coils. I just don't find them to be. I think if I beach hunted, that would be helpful.
Right,
But,
a lot of ground coverage.
Yeah. I'm hoping they'll come out with another one like the machine, like the Coil Tech one, because I think that would be really nice. I love that coil.
Right. And I think you'll find that 6-inch coil it's just going to be hell on wheels in them trashy areas of the home sites.
Yeah, that's
you'll
kind
really
of what
be able to snipe in through that trash.
that was my thought behind it, for going back to some of the cellar holes that I'd done before with, I have the 6-inch for the CTX, so I've done some things with that, but I'm really curious to see when, come spring, once they thaw out a little bit, what I can do with the 6-inch on the Equinox in those super trashy cellars.
Now, with having the 10x5 for the CTX as well as the 6-inch for the CTX, it was my experience anyway. I prefer the 10x5 over the 6-inch on the CTX. That 10x5 just seems to be a better all-around coil for that machine.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I agree.
I kind of wondered what your impressions were, since you've got both of them, so you're able to swap back and forth and see for yourself.
Yeah, I hands down, because I got that coil, and then I was like, I used it, but it's so small, and it's good for just really selective, if you're doing park hunting on people's lawns or cellar holes, but it doesn't get a ton. The 6-inch is just really small, so I love the 10x5.
And with the 10x5, like I said, you're still getting very good depth and battling the stubble, like you mentioned. That 6-inch coil gets kind of hung up. Where the 10x5, that's a nice solid coil. So,
yeah, I like.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I like that there's the plate on the bottom of the 10x5, and I wish that somebody needs to come up with an aftermarket kind of cover, a coil cover that's solid.
To close it off.
To close it off, so I don't have sticks coming up through my, my open coil. I would totally buy that.
Right, a skid plate for it, or even some plugs that plug those open areas, so you're not getting hung up on the stubble.
Yeah. Yep. That would be awesome.
Definitely. So with the events that you've already mentioned this year, any other big plans for the year?
As far as events go, not anything else other than those that I mentioned. So Penguin Dig, Bone, and then the JGD hunt. There's still a whole lot more left in the year. So I was kind of just seeing what comes up and what there is to do. I honestly still am kind of getting into, the community. I'm not really aware of all these events yet. So I learned about all these hunts. You talk to one person like, oh my gosh, you've never been to this hunt, and get down the rabbit hole researching it. And so I got to start somewhere.
Probably kind of how you were exposed to the penguin dig.
Yep. Yeah.
Really though, that one is Doug does just a phenomenal job. Him and his crew that do that event.
Mm-hmm. I went last year, so it was really good. I really liked it.
Very, very friendly environment.
Yes, which is really nice when you're, a young detectorist and new to the hobby, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, plenty of people willing to kind of share their knowledge or even kind of take you under the wing a little bit, so to speak. Mm-hmm. We mentioned that you use the CTX and the Equinox, and you've used the Treasure Pro. What pinpointers do you use? What digging tools do you use?
Good question. So I started off, what did I start off? So first of all, I started off digging without a pinpointer. I did not realize until later on how wonderful pinpointers are. It's like a game changer entirely.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so then I got the Garrett Carrot, which is the Garrett AT Pro, I believe is what it's called. Pinpointer, so it's waterproof, and it's a good little pinpointer. It works really well for me. I did at one point get a Minelab pinpointer, but I did not like it just because it was too big for my hands. It just felt really bulky, and so I went back to
gaudy, maybe.
Yeah, it just didn't feel, I don't know.
Well, you have to find what works for you.
I think too, I had just been so used to the little Garrett Carrot that it was just felt unnatural.
Right. So the Carrot's your go-to then? Yep,
Carrot's my go-to. As far as shovels go, I use shovels, of course. I have a Lesh. I can't say it, and you'll see in my YouTube video that I can't say it at all. So hopefully I'm saying this correctly. Is Lesh? Maybe.
We'll roll with it.
Okay. All right. How do I say it correctly?
That one is kind of a long-running debate. A lot of people pronounce it many different ways, and George, even a lot of times, is just like, yeah, okay, that works. Sure, we'll go with it.
Yeah, so I use the little Lesh hand tool, and then I also have the Lesh Samson, and I'll use that. Right now, I just added an additional shovel to the gang, and it's a Root Slayer shovel, which you can get off Amazon, and it's I got it because it's very, very sharp, and it's got a little bit more heft to it. It's a longer shovel, so it's good for digging through ice.
There you go. Yeah. That makes sense. Definitely. Well, it sounds like you've got some pretty decent diggers. If you ever need to replace any of those, you may want to look into Predator. They make some nice ones as well.
Ah, yes, I've heard of Predator. I'm sure I'll have to replace something at some point.
Right, sooner or later, as determined and passionate as you are with the hobby, I'm sure you're going to wear a digger out here soon enough.
Yeah.
But
I managed to bend it a little bit, but.
Uh-oh.
But it's still tickable.
The Samson? Oh.
Mm-hmm. That's a long story, too. That was not from digging. That was from trying to release a friend. Well, we do some really serious off-roading.
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
up in Vermont, and you got to get your car off the rock and, you use every sort of tool you have, I guess.
Right. Yeah, whatever you've got at your disposal. If it gets the job done, let's do it.
Yep. But, yeah, so it's a little bit, but it's good.
Hey, as long as it's still working, you're still recovering that history. You definitely can't beat that at all. And it looks like we've got one more caller coming through here. If I got him. Yeah, how's it going, Chris?
Good. How you doing, Josh? Hi, Maya.
Hi.
Got a couple questions. Riley Bryant had a question, but he's busy working on Spanish homework. He wanted to know what place you would love to travel to detect. That's the first question.
Sounds like she'll go pretty much anywhere she can.
Yeah, that's pretty much my answers. I'll go literally anywhere. But I really want to go to Europe.
Nice.
I just really, really badly. I've been to Europe before, but I've never been to Europe and digging. And I just see some of that stuff they find. And on my Instagram, I follow a bunch of diggers over in Germany and England and Netherlands, all over the place. And the stuff they find is crazy.
Yes, it is.
Wouldn't it be amazing? Wouldn't it be something to dig Viking stuff?
Yep. Yeah.
Right. I'm game. My bags are packed.
Man, that would just be amazing. And they dig such old stuff.
Yes, they do.
Speaking of old stuff, Barb had a question. She wanted to know if you found any Indian heads.
I have found so many Indian heads. I don't even know how many. I find a lot of them. It's kind of bad, but I actually put them in with my.
Go ahead, Maya. I'll explain in a minute.
Uh-oh, is this something on the chat?
No. This is just kind of a long-running joke. Barb doesn't have a whole lot of luck finding Indians, and they really seem to pop up everywhere in the New England area.
Oh, that's a bad name in chat, Josh. You're going to have to edit it.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, so you probably don't want to hear the next part of my my story then.
Say it, Maya. Tell us. That's awesome. You've dug a bunch of Indian heads. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So much so that I find them in my. Well, I have my coins that I dig that are large cents and coppers and stuff, and they go in a separate pouch in my bag. A separate little container, and then the Indian heads and the wheat pennies and the zinc and Lincolns and everything all just kind of go into one pouch. And then I dump them out, and usually I'll try to take out the Indian heads, but sometimes I miss them and I just never end up cleaning them, and I just don't know what they are. Like the other day I looked through my chump change, is what I call it, and I found 3 Indian heads in there. That I pulled out, and I rubbed some of the green off, and I was like, oh yeah, there you go, it's an Indian.
That is awesome. Love it.
Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear that? That's Barb banging her head on her desktop.
Is Barb in New England?
No. She's from New England area, but no, she's down in North Carolina.
Oh, see, there you go. You gotta be in New England.
She's got to find an Indian head. I feel she's got to. She's gonna. This year is her year.
Well, and she has found them before, but yeah, she doesn't find them real often, so maybe she'll hit a couple of them this year.
That would be nice.
Well, I wish her luck.
We do too. That's good. That's nice. See, we all wish you luck, Barb. And then King Guthrie wanted to know if you enjoy Little Debbie snack cakes, and if so, what your favorite one is.
Well, we all got to keep charged up out there in the field.
I don't really, honestly, I think I know what those are. We don't really eat. It's like Little Debbie snack cakes. Are those little things with? Here, I'm gonna Google it because I'm in New England, so I have no idea. This seems to be a Southern thing. Little Debbie's snack.
They're geographically, I mean, they work everywhere. Nutty bars,
really?
Twisties cake rolls. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know these things. Okay, oatmeal cream pies.
There you go. All right.
Well,
All right. I think that's.
so
wait a minute.
not the Nutty Bar fan then.
No, oatmeal cream pies all the way. I've never seen any of these other ones in any of my grocery stores, except for the Swiss rolls.
You just haven't tried them then. You have to try a Nutty Bar sometime.
Right.
Jason Weir wants to know, have you ever thought about attending Detective All?
Ooh, I have. Right this year, I think it coincides with JGD. The other thing is, and I'd love to go to Detective All, but I have to get quite a bit of time off from work to do that. So I'd really have to make it a vacation.
That would definitely be an experience, though.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay, I think that is all the questions. I see stuff about moon pies and where do we send the funeral flowers, Chris, but I don't see anything else in there.
Right, Chris's phone's probably blowing up with messages from Barb right now. She's going to have you walk the plank.
No, you got some dirt on me, and I know that's probably going to happen, but oh well, you know, it's for the good of the hobby. I'm called in for this. So, Barb, I'm just trying to help.
It's all in good fun.
That's right. Hey, this has been great. Mia, I got to ask, are you talking on your cell phone?
No, I am hooked up to a very fancy, dancy professional microphone, so that's why I sound.
Yeah, we set this all up. We set this all up ahead of time so that hopefully we would have very, very good audio quality from her for all of you listeners, and she didn't disappoint. She actually overachieved, and that is awesome. I love her audio.
Yeah, this is the best we've heard yet. Good job, Josh and Maya. Excellent job.
Thank you.
All right, I'll let you guys go. I'm really enjoying the show. I'm going to go and make sure my home security system's activated. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, we'll see you, Chris.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Nice. Well, I guess we've had you on here for a while now. Yeah, we're actually a little over. I don't know, the way it sounds, we're gonna have to get you back again sometime. You have been just an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you. This is my first radio show, so I have really enjoyed it. You've been a pleasure as well.
Well, way to represent you. You have done just phenomenal tonight. You're doing absolutely wonderful in the hobby, and really wish you the absolute best of luck. You're going to go far. Definitely.
Thank you.
And
I hope so.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. You're going places. And I guess before we go, why don't you go ahead and take a minute, mention to people where they can find you. The links are in the description, but sometimes it's nice to hear it too, and any other pages you may like to mention. Yeah,
so again, links are in the description there under info. I've got my Facebook page there. I've got my Instagram and my YouTube. If you want to search it in Google, you can actually type in Missdetectorist in Google search and it will pull you up to these sites unless you put a space in between Miss and Detectorist, and then you can't find me. So that's my biggest tip if you're trying to find me. You gotta Miss, no space at all, Detectorist, just like you see it on all of my stuff.
That is a very good point. Yeah, for those wondering in the chat, no, those aren't typos. I spelled it that way for a reason.
Yes. All together, and the lowercase m, but that doesn't mess it up, so that's okay. But,
right.
So that's pretty much what I'd say. I mean, I'm on a bunch of different groups on, Facebook too, and the ID Me page, and that's awesome. If you guys aren't on that, Awesome Relic New England. I'm gonna get in with the New Hampshire group and get that going too, but, yeah, YouTube should be coming up too. If you go to that link, you'll see there's nothing posted yet, but like I said, working on it, should be up by the weekend for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Your audio is just phenomenal. It makes my post-production work so much smoother.
Yay. Like to make life easier when I can.
Yes, definitely all about that. And speaking of you being in New Hampshire, it is kind of cold there. But you've been such a wonderful guest that if you send me a message with your shipping address and your choice of a t-shirt or a hoodie, we'll get a Beyond Sight and Sound shirt out to you, or hoodie, since it's colder there. You have been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed being on the show.
And obviously, then that's courtesy of Beyond Sight and Sound and Ken and our friends over there at Detectors. If you get that information out to me, we can get that in the mail to you. And if you get it, the only thing I ask is you make sure you post up a picture that I can share around, or send me a picture so that we can share it around, because we may be using those pictures for a future contest.
All right. Well, I will definitely be sure to do that.
Awesome. Other than that, the way it sounds, I'm pretty sure they're going on in the chat too that they'd really love to hear you back again sometime. So we will definitely have to do this again sometime in the future. Hear about some more of your adventures.
Yep, you know where to find me.
Awesome.
And hopefully they do too now.
We hope so. The links are there in the description, and really looking forward to that upcoming video that, like you said, hopefully by the weekend.
Yep, should be.
Okay, well, hang in there with me for a few minutes, Maya. I think we're going to get on out of here. So, for everyone else, hey, if you enjoyed the show, you liked what Maya had to share, she has been just an absolute pleasure of a guest. Really enjoyed the show. Very glad to have reached out to her to get her on the show for everybody, and very appreciative that she actually took the time to sit down with us here tonight and share some of her experiences. So if you like the show, make sure and smash that like button on your way out. You can follow us here on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeart, the Beyond Sight and Sound group, Beyond Sight and Sound page on Facebook, many of the other wonderful distribution services for the podcast, as well as the other groups as well. Don't forget, check out our friends at Shooters and Prospectors, our friends at Detectees, Extreme Scoops, XP Team USA, their podcast every other Friday, the GDA podcast with Lance Goolsby over there in Germany. He's doing a phenomenal job this year. He's even got 42 co-hosting with him. And tomorrow night, Relics Radio right here on Spreaker with Lori Gagne. So until the next time, folks, it's time to roll. Get out there and find something if you can and post up those pictures. You know how we love to see the photos. Take care, folks.